Okay. So, good afternoon to all of you. We shall be starting with the rest part of the president. We were discussing probably this page that impeachment of the president, and I told you that impeachment of the president is maintained in Article 61 of the Constitution, and this procedure has been borrowed from the American Constitution. So this is a kind of procedure impeachment, but remember, no president has been impeached so far. There has been no need for impeaching the president so far, but there is a procedure. There is a constitutional provision, and it is called a quasi-judicial provision because it is investigated by the parliament and it is taken up by the parliament in a judicial manner. There is investigation in the impeachment, and people those who participate in the election, like the MLAs and the state legislative members, assembly members who participate in the election of the president, do not participate in the impeachment of the president. That is also a deviation. Okay, so we have written it, huh? But nominated members participate in the impeachment of the president, but they do not participate in the election of the president. Now we shall take a brief look at the powers of the president of India. Remember that the president of India is the reporter or reservoir of powers, the huge powers. He is a reservoir of huge powers. Although being a nominal head, he doesn't enjoy the real power. All the powers are exercisable by him on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister, and the 42nd Amendment has made the aid and advice binding upon the President. So, President is reduced to a real nominal head, whatever it may be, but the president has is a reservoir of powers. All the powers that are exercised by the government of India are vested in the president. So that is a point to be remembered. That is the also a typical condition, typical arrangement that is in prevalence in India. So president has executive power, legislative power, financial power, and your diplomatic, military, and all these powers are enjoyed by him. Apart from that, he has also some discretionary power that he can use at his own discretion without taking the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So let us have a brief look at the powers of the president, different powers of the president. He enjoys power and performs certain powers and functions which can be discussed on the following heads. Is the executive powers of the president. Article 53 states that Article 53 states that the president, that the executive powers of the union government shall be vested in the president. Shall be vested in the president. That is also a point to be remembered. So executive power means the execution of the government business and the execution of the government's business in the house or in a government business or functioning of the government. So to say in simple words, we can say that the running of the government is the responsibility of the president. All the executive actions of the government of India is carried on in the name of the president, and although the Prime Minister of India is the real executive head, and he makes rules and regulations for the convenient transaction of the government business. That is first point, I think. He makes, it's not mentioned, we have to write it. President President makes rules and procedures for the convenient transaction of the business of the government. That means the way the government is to function, the way the government is to be carried on, the modalities of the government are decided by the president. Under executive power, there comes a lot of appointments. He makes appointment of the prime minister and other ministers on his advice. Then he makes all appointments on the advice of the prime minister. He appoints the attorney general of India. He appoints the comptroller and auditor general of India, the chief election commissioners also, and other election commissioners on the recommendation of the Chief Election Commission of India, chairman and members of the UPSC, Joint Public Service Commission, governors of the states, lieutenant governors of the Union Territory, chairman and members of the Finance Commission, and also the chief ministers, chief ministers of Union Territories having legislative assemblies are also appointed by the president, not by the governor, because they don't have governor at all. And lieutenant governors are not empowered to appoint the chief ministers, hence the president appoints the chief ministers in the union territories having legislative assemblies. So these major, you can say major appointments are made under executive power. He appoints the chairman and members of the various commissions, including UPSC and National Commission for SC, National Commission for STs, National Commission for OBC, and he also appoints chief vigilance commissioner. He appoints the that is also a point to be remembered. He appoints the chief election commissioner and other bodies. So that is to be major appointments come under the executive powers. Then he can appoint interested council to promote center-state relation and interstate relation and under Article 263 of the Constitution. He can require Prime Minister to submit for the consideration of the Council of Minister any matter which decision has been taken by a minister but which has not been considered by the Council, that is under Article 78. That is also an executive power. Then also he makes rules and convenient transaction of the business, and he also makes rules legislations for the peace, progress and good governance of the union territories of Andaman Nicobar Island. And you can also write that perhaps we have added it in the legislative power. Let me see, let me check. Yes, that is added in legislative power. Okay, so these are the executive power of the president. So executive power ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଯେ makes rules and procedures. Number two, various important appointments, including the appointment of the prime minister. Then number three, interstate council. Number 4, administration of scheduled areas. It can be your executive powers through the governors. Then legislative power. President is the integral part of the legislature, union legislature. He comprises union legislature comprises of Lok Sabha and president and your Rajya Sabha. So president, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, that is president of India, and it is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So president is considered a part of legislature because his assent is essential for approval of the bill. So the very first point of legislative power of the president should be that he is an integral part of parliament. He can summon and prorogue the houses of the parliament and dissolve the Lok Sabha. He can also summon a joint sitting. So he summons and prorogues the houses. He summons means he calls the sessions. It is the president who notifies regarding the timing and day of the sessions, parliamentary sessions. So that is called summoning. He declares when the house is going to start its sessions. He also ends the session, that is called prorogation or prorogue the houses of parliament, but dissolves Lok Sabha because Rajya Sabha is not subject to dissolution. It is a permanent continuous chamber, and he can also summon a joint sitting of both houses of parliament when there is a disagreement between the two houses on an ordinary bill. And this joint sitting is presided over by the speaker and deputy speaker if speaker is absent, or deputy chairman if the deputy speaker is absent. So in this way, joint sitting is summoned under Article 108. Then President nominates 12 members to Rajya Sabha from amongst the person having special knowledge and wide experience in literature, science, arts, and social service. This kind of nomination has been borrowed from, if you remember, from Irish Constitution to give an expertise and wisdom to inculcate, infuse wisdom and expertise of the learned men into the functioning of the government. So there is a provision of 12 nomination of 12 members to Rajya Sabha by the president from different fields like your literature, science, arts, and social service. Arts cover everything like sports, music, and other things. Okay, then two members were to be nominated from Anglo-Indian community to Lok Sabha if, in the opinion of the president, they are underrepresented. This provision was outlined or mentioned in Article 331 of the Constitution, but this provision has been withdrawn or has been withdrawn. This provision has been withdrawn by 104 Amendment Act to 2020. So no more this provision is there, but this provision was there. Now it is no more. So it is also a kind of power of the president. He could nominate two Anglo-Indian members if, in his opinion, the community is not adequately represented in the government or in the parliament. That is nomination. So then, a certain bills passed by the parliament requires prior approval of the president. Those who are new to Indian polity must remember that president has to assent or has to approve the bills passed by the parliament. All bills cannot become act. A bill cannot become an act without the assent of the president. So each bill passed by the parliament has to be signed by the president, has to be approved by the president, has to be assented by the president, and after its assent it becomes an act. But there are certain bills which require prior assent, prior approval of the president. There are numerous bills which require prior accommodations. They are money bills, finance bills, 117 article में finance bill रखा गया है, 117 finance bill, 110 money bill, These are the important bills which require prior recommendation of the president. Bills affecting taxation in which states are interested, like GST and others. State bills imposing restrictions upon freedom and trade. Creation of new states and alteration of boundaries of the states means state reorganization bill. So this kind of money bill, or you can say finance bill, that is then taxation bills in which the states are involved, then that is restriction interstate trade and commerce bill, and state reorganization bill. Remember, these five kinds of bills require prior recommendation of the president. That is also a point to be noted. And in alleged reports of Auditor General of India, CAG, alleged reports, that is also a responsibility of the president, that he lays report of the that is the Comptroller General of India and Election Commission of India, then your Union Public Service Commission, then your you can say the that is um, that is also uh, so that is a kind of things you have to remember. Uh, okay, so that is the things he lays the reports of the Auditor General and your CAG and its Comptroller Auditor General, EPSC, Finance Commission of India, Commissions for Backward Classes. So that is the things he lays the reports of the Commissions for Backward Classes, National Commission for SC. So whose reports? Whose reports? Let us list it. He submits the report of CAG, UPSC, all commissions, national commissions, jete rahila national commissions, pura national commissions on SC, national commissions on ST, national commission for OBC. Okay, he also submits the report of the Finance Commission of India. So these are the reports, important reports, and also CBC submits a report to the central government and president lays down it. So these are the prime reports, but apart from that, there are various reports submitted by the government to the parliament for consideration. And president has the power to either give assent or withhold his assent to a bill, that is called veto power or power to assent the bill. Power to assent the bill. So that is Article 111. Alright. So that is a kind of things. Without president assent, as I told you, a bill cannot become an act. Then president holds final legislative powers to legislate for the Union Territories of Andaman, Nicobar Island, your Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar, Daman Diu, and also for Puducherry. When the Legislative Assembly of the Union Territory is suspended, he can also make legislation. Remember, it is called the legislative power of the president. Legislative power of the president with regards to the peace, progress, and good governance of certain union territories because of their typical population demographic characteristic. So president is empowered. I mean, the central government is empowered to make direct legislations without consulting the parliament. That is called legislative power of the president or legislative power of the government. So probably this is provided in the constitution, and that is the things you have to keep in mind. So which union territory has to make legislation? Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep, Dadar Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu, and in case of Puducherry also, the president can legislate for making legislation, but only the assembly is suspended or dissolved. That is also a kind of very unique legislative power of the president or the central government. Next point, that is your parliamentary or legislative power is you can appoint any member to preside over the, that is called speaker pro tem. Speaker pro tem. So you can appoint any member to preside over the Lok Sabha when the speaker and deputy speaker are absent or vacant, and even the similar way he can appoint the appoint a chairman pro tem when the chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha offices of the chairman and deputy chairman are falling vacant. So in that is the way they call speaker pro tem or chairman pro tem. That is a provision. Also he addresses speaker pro tem at the beginning of Lok Sabha, and speaker pro tem is not a constitutional, is a constitutional sanctioned office, yes, because president has to give oath to the newly elected members or through his representatives chosen by him. So here the speaker pro tem is the representative who administers oath to the newly elected members after general election in Lok Sabha. That is also belongs to the legislative power. Then he addresses the house, that is your article 87. There is a chance of the president to go to the parliament to address the parliament. President addresses the parliament once at the beginning of Lok Sabha, that is after general election when the Lok Sabha constitutes or meets for the first time. That is also mentioned. So this provision is mentioned in Article 87 of the Indian Constitution, and also that he can address the first session of a year in Parliament, that is budget session. So one at the beginning of Lok Sabha after general election, and another at every year he has to visit once, just at the beginning of first session, that is called budget session of Parliament. And this provision is provided, okay, so that is the provision mentioned in 87. So at the first meeting of Lok Sabha, at the first meeting of Lok Sabha, and number two, at the first session each year. So these are the legislative powers. In short, we can call it parliamentary powers. And joint session, we have not added it. We can summon a joint session also, that we have discussed. Yes, joint sessions. And he can appoint speaker pro tem. We have discussed. Then he can make he lets, that is the budget social segregate in financial powers, that is also related to legislative powers. Okay, so parliamentary power re basic jinsu we have to remember, that is that is a part, integral part of the parliament. He can summon and prorogue the houses, he can summon the joint sitting, he nominates members to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. His prior approval is required for certain bills. He lays report of certain authorities like CAG and CEC. Then he has the power to give assent, that is veto power. He can assent. Without his assent, bill cannot. Then he has legislative powers. He can summon joint sitting. He can appoint any member or Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha to preside over in case the chairpersons are vacant. He addresses the House under Article 87. Then financial powers. President has huge financial powers. He lays the annual financial statement, that is called budget, before the parliament. He ensures that budget is introduced. No money bill can become an act or can be introduced without prior recommendation of the president. He constitutes finance commission every 5 years, and the first finance commission was constituted in 1951, and so far 15 finance commissions have been constituted in India. It is the president who makes the appointment of the finance commission. It constitutes one chairperson and four other members. It is a very important body because it brings or establishes federal financial equilibrium in the country. So recommendation of finance commission is much awaited report in India. Okay, that is also a kind of financial power. He appoints the finance commission of India. Okay, so these are the finance commission, and we have to also make that no money can be sanctioned without sanctioned from the Consolidated Fund of India under Article 266 of the Constitution. Okay, that is also there, and he also makes advances. He makes advances. Kindly take a note of this from the Contingency Fund of India under Article 267. So, Contingency Fund of India is an emergency fund which is kept at the disposal of the President. It is usually kept with the Finance Secretary of India on behalf of the President. So contingency fund of India, and contingency fund which is standing that is, you can say, the standing fund, and it is an emergency fund, and a president is empowered to make advances from the contingency from India without the prior approval or without the approval of the parliament. So that is kept at the executive disposal of the president, and the amount of contingency fund has been revised to 30,000 crore in last year 2021, right? That is also a provision. He makes advance, and no money can be sanctioned from the Consolidated Fund of India without his prior approval. That is also a thing to be remembered. Okay, and he makes advances from the Contingency Fund of India. Then we shall go to the next power, that is judicial ordinance making power. Ordinance making power is also a sub part of the legislative power. President is empowered. President is empowered to promulgate ordinances under Article 123. Article 123. Under Article 123, when both the houses are not in session. Number two, either house is in session, or is not in session, remember, in session. So ordinance making power of the president is not a parallel legislative power. He can issue or promulgate ordinance when there is a when there is two scenario situation, that is one, both the houses are completely closed or not in session, or either house is in session only, because president cannot can issue ordinance when one house is in session and other house is not in session, because a bill has to be passed by two houses at a time. So that is a provision. Then that is when the president is parliament is not in session. That is on parliament is on leave. Then president can issue ordinance. First thing. Second thing, he can issue ordinances on those subjects which are assigned to the union government. He can issue ordinance on those subjects which are to assigned to the union government. That you can say the union list and concurrent list. The president can also issue ordinances on the subjects mentioned in the state list in certain scenarios, in certain circumstances. So it is it is coextensive. It is coextensive with the legislative powers of the parliament. That means president cannot make law on which parliament is prohibited to make. That is also a point to be remembered. So it is not that more than parliamentary power. Another thing, an ordinance has to be approved by the parliament within 6 weeks from the date of reason. Within the 6 weeks from the date of assembly. So it means it has to be approved, must be approved. But first ordinance can be issued and it has to be approved within 6 weeks. So maximum lifespan of an ordinance can be 6 months, 6 weeks, because there can be a gap of 6 months between two sessions. But unless ordinance is approved by the parliament, it will automatically lapse. That is a point. If ordinance is not approved, then it will lapse. It will come to an end. But any act or anything done by the ordinance before approval can remain valid. It's not that it will be invalid. And another thing, that president cannot issue frequent ordinances because it is against the norm of parliamentary democracy. President has to use this power cautiously. There is no need, there is no hurry to issue ordinances, there should not be any hurry. If the situation does not calls for ordinance, he should not issue it because it violates the legislative power or it degreases the parliamentary position in a parliamentary arrangement. And I told you key ordinance can survive for a maximum period of 6 months, 6 weeks because there can be an interim gap of 6 months between two sessions. And that after provision is ordinance making provision is provided under Article 123 of the Constitution. Okay, so this is all about your ordinance making power and it is a unique power in the hands of the president. Another thing, yes, I was used to telling this is a part of financial power. It is written on this slide. So no demand for grant can be made except his recommendations. It is a financial power. No demand means no money bill. During the budget, there are several money bills are introduced, and the money bills are called demand. When they get approved by the parliament, it is called grants. So no demand can become a grant without his prior approval. President has to give prior approval to the to the demands. Then it will be introduced. Okay, Bakia can make advances of the contingency fund we have already mentioned. Then we shall come to judicial power. President has a lot of judicial powers. He has the powers to appoint judges of Supreme Court and High Court, not the judges of the district courts probably. And that's why the Supreme Court judges, Chief Justice of India and Chief Justices of the High Court, judges of the High Courts are appointed by the President, no doubt on the advice and the opinion of the Collegium or Chief Justice and other judges. It is a unique judicial powers. He can seek advice from the Supreme Court on any matter or any question of law under Article 143, and this is called advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India. However, advice tendered by the Supreme Court is not binding upon the President. The executive may not go by the decision of the Supreme Court. So that is called advice of the Supreme Court of India. So whenever any doubt over the provisions of the Constitution or provisions of the mentioned in any issue related matters or any things that hampering the constitutional validity, that is hampering the going against the principle of the Constitution, that is the President who will refer this matter to the Supreme Court of India only, and the advice of the Supreme Court is sought, but the advice is not compulsory upon the compulsory in nature. Then he has the power that is called he receives mercy petitions to grant pardons. He receives mercy petitions. He receives mercy petition from general public to grant. There is pardon. I'm writing again. Pardon, commutation, remission, respite. So there is 5 types of pardons he can grant under Article 72 of the Constitution. President contains pardoning power under Article 62 and he can grant this type of pardons. So we shall discuss later what is the meaning of these pardons. Okay, so we can grant it, and the pardoning power of the President is independent of the judiciary, but now it is become granting pardon sometimes considered to be judicially reviewable. So that depends upon the court to ensure. Different modes of pardoning powers, there are different kinds we have already discussed. Commutation is a kind of pardon is a kind of things that is offender is completely set free And another notable thing regarding this provision is that President can grant pardon on capital punishment or death sentence. So that is also a point to be remembered, that when pardon is available or pardon is granted to a person or to the accused, he gets free. And the president is empowered to grant pardon in death sentence. But in case of commutation, it is a kind of substitution of one form of punishment to another form, to lighter form. In case of harsh punishment, one president can convert it to a simple punishment. That is called commutation. Then remission is the shortening or reduction in the term in the sentence term. If the sentence is about 10 years, it can be reduced to 5 months, depending upon the claim of the appellant. So in remission, the amount of sentence is reduced. The year of sentence is there. The period of sentence is reduced, but the nature of the sentence is not compromised. Commutation is in reverse. That nature of the sentence is revised, but the that is the year of sentence remains constant. Respite is given in special circumstances like disability of the patient and disability of the victim and accused and the pregnancy of woman at that point of time. Then he has to give, he or she has to be given respite. So respite is kind of things. Then reprieve is a temporary stay over death sentence. It is a kind of things which seeks to have a stay over one death sentence. So to reopen the case and decide it again. So these are the kind of pardon, commutation, remission, respite, and reprieve. These kind of pardons are granted by the government, by the president through mercy petitions. And there have been number of cases where the president has granted pardons. This is the things. Okay, now diplomatic power. Diplomatic power is related to international affairs. So all the treaties, international treaties, agreements are concluded in the name of the president, but they are subject to the approval of the parliament. He represents India in international fora and affairs. He sends and receives diplomats, ambassadors, and high commissioners. He also receives foreign heads when they visit India. He spreads a home party for them. So there are many traditions associated with the president of India when foreign heads visit India. All these are maintained. So he strengthens the ties of diplomatic ties of India with other countries. Then also military power. Military power is a kind of power that makes president the supreme commander of the defense forces. In this capacity, he appoints the chiefs of the army, navy, and air force and other paramilitary forces. He can declare war and conclude peace subject to approval of the parliament. He is the supreme commander of the armed forces. That is a point to be remembered. That he is the head of the defense forces, political or a constitutional head. So that is a beauty of India's constitutional arrangement. So president doesn't give scope to have a way out. That is called military powers. Emergency is also another kind of powers of the president. Emergency powers has been borrowed, provisions has been borrowed from the Government of India Act 1935. And as you know, President can promulgate national emergency, can issue President's rule and financial emergency whenever circumstances arise. This emergency provision is mentioned in Part 18 of the Constitution, and the President of India enjoys extraordinary powers to deal with the following three types of emergency: national emergency, President's rule, financial emergency. Okay, so this is called emergency power. And remember, when emergency is promulgated, especially the national emergency, the state administration is controlled by us, by the central government. That is also a kind. So it is a unitary feature, if you remember. It is a unitary feature. Now we shall discuss veto power. Veto power is related to assent of the president. The president has the power to either give assent or withhold his assent. Without president's assent, a bill cannot become an act. In this regard, president has three vetoes. हेलो अरे वो क्लास में थी निकला और 8:30 सर okay, so president has several veto powers and he has absolute veto. He has you can call pocket veto and you can call also suspensive vetoes. So huge veto power is invested in the president. And in absolute veto, what he does, he rejects the bill and the bill comes to an end. That is called the veto power, absolute. Therefore, it is called absolute veto. And absolute veto was first first used by Dr. Rajendra Prasad in 1954 on PEPSU bill. On PEPSU appropriation bill that was there. And another thing in 1991, and that is salary bills, salary and allowances of members of parliament, salary of MPs bill, salary and allowances of MPs bill. It was used by R. Venkatraman and that was used by the past president Rajendra Prasad. So whenever absolute veto is issued, the bill comes to an end. And remember that only president can use this absolute veto only on ordinary bill. That is also a point to be remembered. No absolute veto can be used for money bill and constitutional amendment bill if you say categorically. But president does not use absolute veto always. He uses absolute veto when the cabinet resigns. If the cabinet resigns soon after the bill is presented before the parliament president, then the president doesn't give his assent because he leaves it, rejects it by leaving the bill to the decision or to the will of the next government. Hence, absolute veto, and the president also uses absolute veto on state bill. So, in normal times, now when the government is functioning or there is during normal functioning, president does not use absolute veto in a point. Then it is suspensive veto. Suspensive veto means he can return the bill for the reconsideration of the parliament. And if after reconsideration the parliament sends it back to the president with or without amendment, then the president has no option but to reject the bill, have to assent the bill. Suspensive bill cannot be issued for money bill and constitutional amendment bill. It can be used only on money bill, that is on ordinary bill. So in suspensive veto, the bill is returned. And in case of pocket veto, president puts off his power of assent or his assent for an indefinite period of time. Hence, it is called pocket veto. There is no time limit also. Another thing, president can use this veto for money bill and your ordinary bill usually, and it is a unique power. President can sit on the bill for several times together. That is called pocket veto, and pocket veto was used once. That is in 1986. That is post Indian Post Office Amendment Bill. 1986, President Gali Jail Singh. Okay, so that is also their president's 1986. After that, in 1989, okay, that is the things. So these are the kind of examples that president has the veto powers. He has a lot of veto powers we have seen, and these are the veto powers been used. For instance, one thing with regards to pocket veto, we have to say that American president has also pocket veto power. But the difference is that he can retain the bill for only 10 days, whereas in case of president, he can retain the bill for an indefinite period. That is the things. Okay, bucket veto. So these are the things. So we have discussed everything about president, veto power, emergency power, ordinance making power. Now look at the list of the president. List of president may we have to search that what is the rank of the president, what is most celebrated fact about each president of India. That is also to be remembered. Then that is what is specific about each president and the rank of the president, that term also, and even you can say who was the prime minister. So Rajendra Prasad, the first president of India, longest president, first and longest serving president. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, the educationist who became the president, and he is known for his there is eloquence oratory. Zakir Hussain was the first Muslim president of India, and first president. Okay, so he's the Muslim president and first president to die in office in 1969. Bibi Giri became the first acting president because when president dies, suddenly the vice president becomes the acting president. And fourth president was Bibi Giri. Bibi Giri was from 69 to 74. He continued for 5 years. That is also a point to be remembered. Fakhruddin only became the second Muslim president, and the second president to die office. And Neelam Sanjeev Reddy is the first Lok Sabha speaker, and is the sixth president, first Lok Sabha speaker to become president. And is the youngest president, and first president unopposed presidents, that is he was elected unopposed. and he was also the first chief minister of Andhra Pradesh after 1956 in Andhra became recognized. Gyani Jal Singh is the seventh president, and he was the first Sikh president of India. And Ramaswamy Venkataraman was the eighth president, and he was the first finance minister to become the president. First finance minister to become the president. Shankardayal Sharma was the ninth president, and he was the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh governor. Sometimes also she had held many political offices on the grassroots level. Kacheri is the first Dalit president of India and the Dalit president of India. Okay, and he was also the first chair vice chancellor of JNU University to become the president. APJ Abdul Kalam was the 11th president, and he was there. Pratibha Patil was 24th July 2009, and he is the first woman president, as all of you know. He is the 12th president of India. 13th is Pranab Mukherjee, and 14th is, that is, Ramnath Kovind. Okay, so with this we have come to the close of your chapter, President. We can do some questions also. So please work out the questions. So what will be the answer? The president is elected by Rajya Sabha members and the elected members, state legislative assembly, so only not Rajya Sabha, that is also Lok Sabha. In case of bicameral legislature, the legislative council and the nominated members of the legislative assembly of Delhi no do participate. So neither one nor two. Answer is B. Consider the following statement: the members of dissolved assembly can take part in the election of the president if fresh election is not held before president's election. No. So in case the assembly is dissolved, for example, 28 states participate in the election. If two states have their legislative assemblies dissolved and election is not declared also, then can the MLAs can take part in the election of the president? No. So the moment house is dissolved, the members are also, the term of the member come to an end. So the first option is incorrect, as it is they cannot participate, and vacancy in the electoral college for the vice does not affect the election, that is only two. The vacancy जो 28 स्टेट अछंती 20 स्टेट पार्टिसिपेट कले the 28 state रे those who participates Okay, so if 28 states are there, so if any state doesn't have legislative assembly or there is no election held and there are no MLAs, so these states, these are called vacancy in the electoral college. So even if there are vacancies, election will not be postponed. That is the question says. Now number three, in case of impeachment of the president for violation of the constitution, which of the following is not correct? Not correct. Any one of the both houses can charge sheet the resolution. Resolution for proposal charge sheet should be signed by minimum one-fourth of the members. Correct. Such resolution should be produced after 7 days of issuing written notice to the president. That is 14 days. Such resolution must be passed by minimum of two-third majority of total members. Yes. So answer is C. The president shall, in respect of every financial year, cause to be laid before both houses of parliament a statement of estimated receipt and expenditure of the government of India for that year. That is called union budget. Yes. No demand for a grant shall be made except from the recommendation of the president. Yes. So both 1 and 2 are correct. We have already discussed it in financial power. Number 4. Number 4 B. Which of the following is not correct? The election of the president cannot be challenged on the ground that electoral college was incomplete. Yes. If the election of a person or president is declared void by the Supreme Court, acts done by him before the date of such declaration of the Supreme Court are invalidated. No, that is not invalidated. That is not invalidated. That remains in force. The president should have the qualification to become a member of Lok Sabha. Yes. Is eligible for re-elections of the office as many terms? Yes. So answer is B. So if today the election of the president is declared void, that means in 24th February, if the election is declared void and president will be no more, then act on him before the before 24th February will be valid. Consider the following statements: B.B. Giri, Gyani Jal Singh, and Sanjeeva Reddy, Shankar Dayal Sharma. Which of the following is the correct chronological order of the presidents? So first is B.B. Giri, then you can call Nellam Sanjeev Reddy was the fifth president, sixth president of India. And Gyani Jal Singh was the seventh president of India, if you remember. Gyani Jal Singh is the seventh president of India. Yes. And then eighth president is your R. Venkatraman. Okay. So that is you can call 1, 2, 3, 4. So IIIB C is the fourth president, is the sixth president, is the seventh president, is the you can call is the 10th, no, ninth president of India. And which of the following is not a ground of vacancy in the office of the president? On expiry of tenure 5 years by resignation, impeachment, election declared by election is not a ground of vacancy. Okay. On the expiry of his tenure of 5 years by resignation, impeachment, election declared void by Election Commission of India, that is not there. That is by the Supreme Court of India. Which of the motion is moved in the parliament on the president's address, that is called motion of thanks? Consider the following statement: the provision of the office of the president is borrowed from USA Constitution. The manner of election of the president is borrowed from Irish Constitution. So both 1 and 2, B. Which of the following not correct regarding the veto power of the President of India? Enjoys no veto power on constitutional amendment bill. That's correct. He can return an ordinary bill for an indefinite period. That's correct. No, he cannot return a money bill. The veto power of the president is discretionary power. So answer will be C. Which one of the following is correct about President of India? Hate, first citizen, all of these. Well, so that is D. Which of the following not a qualification of the President of India? He must be a citizen of India, 35, should be a member of Rajya Sabha, not Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, office of profit, yes. So answer C. The President of India is elected by the people indirectly by an electoral college consisting of elected members of Rajya Sabha only, no. Elected members of Lok Sabha, no. Elected members of state legislative assemblies and union territories, not alone, all of these. The presidential election is held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote with secret ballot. Among the following was the first finance minister to become the president. It is R. Venkataraman. He was the eighth president. The only president elected unopposed and was the youngest president, that was Nilam Sanjeev Reddy. He was the sixth president. He was the eighth president. Next, that is A, C. Which among the following can be issued against the President of India? Civil proceedings can be issued against if the President, after serving 2 months' notice upon him, but he cannot be arrested, imprisoned, and criminal proceedings can be initiated against him during his term. That is called immunities of the President and Governor under Article 361. The impeachment of proceedings can be initiated against President in which house? Either house. Which of the following article is correct about President of India? Correct. 60 is correct. 54 is election. 58 is qualification. 56 term. So answer will be D. Correct regarding the President. Match the following for impeachment of the president: Article 61, pardoning power of the president 72, power of the president to issue ordinance Article 123, power of the president to consult the Supreme Court and make it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That is A. Which among the following are the executive powers of the President of India: appointment of the Prime Minister and other Union Minister, appointment of Attorney General, CAG, Chairman of UPSC, Chief Election Commissioner, Governor of the States, and Chairman of the Finance Commission of India. That is, all of these are the executive powers. But Chairman of the Finance Commission is not be. Anyway, there is there all of these. Which among the following veto is not enjoyed by the president? That is qualified veto. Qualified veto is used by the American president, under which veto provision, if a bill is vetoed by the president, it can be overridden by the parliament or congress in America. That is called qualified veto. But keep in mind that this veto is not given to the president of India. So that is D. Respite mean in term of power granted to the president. Respite. That is, always remember special circumstances like disability, pregnancy. These are the things. Pranab Mukherjee was the 13th president of India. How many presidents of India so far have been conferred Bharat Ratna? So six presidents. Six presidents means your Rajendra Prasad, that is Rajendra Prasad. তারপরে এস রাধাকৃষ্ণন, জাকির হোসেন, এপিজে, তারপরে নেক্সট so these are the six presidents who have been conferred with Bharat Ratna so far. Then consider the following presidents of India: Zakir Hussain, Bibi Giri, Fakhruddin Ali. They are none who among the mentioned presidents has not been conferred with Bharat Ratna awards. So not been. I mean K.R. Naran and Fakhruddin, 3 and 4. Okay, so it's kind of things. So these are the kind of things we have completed. Your president, we are going slowly but steadily. We'll start vice president, prime minister, and your council of ministers, and also attorney general of India. Whenever we come to the next class, we are going slowly, steadily, and we shall be focusing on MCQs every class. We have added some MCQs also every class. At the end of the chapter, we are discussing. And in between, I am planning to discuss some means some important questions on the chapters completed so far. So that I'm planning also. I may introduce it. But hope you are all watching it later and having a very learning moment. You are learning something, that is our motto, that is our objective. Manik has initiated this great opportunity for all of you. So tomorrow you will realize, but please realize it today to ensure to avail yourself this opportunity. Those who are away from the coaching physical classes and those who are not lacking time to avail themselves to admit themselves in physical classes, they have to be quite attentive and they have to attend these classes surely for harnessing or refining their idea or ability, knowledge in Indian polity. All right. So let I hope ki we are standing. So I'm planning to that. So let me end the class and thank you very much for watching us. Every week we are starting with YouTube classes. Next class we shall be starting the new chapter, Vice President and your Vice President and your Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, and the collective responsibility of the ministers at all these things in the next class. All right. So that is the kind of things. Now should I end the class? Thank you very much to all of you.